My name is Daniel Moore, and all I ever wanted was a quiet life on the 40 acres of land my grandfather left me. The land wasn't just dirt and trees. It was memory. It was legacy. It was the place where every Moore generation had been raised, worked, and buried. But to the world outside, my land was something else entirely: prime real estate. Developers had been trying to buy it from me for nearly 10 years. Some were polite, some aggressive, and some downright annoying. But the answer was always the same: no, my land, my rules. Then came the Willow Spring Development Group, a company with deep pockets and even deeper influence. They didn't take a no easily. The first time their representative visited, he brought glossy papers, maps, architectural designs, and a smile so fake you could peel it off his face. You're sitting on a gold mine, Mr. Moore," he'd said. "And I intend to keep it buried," I'd replied. I thought that was the end of it. But these people weren't the type to back away. A year later, I returned from a 2-week trip to visit my sister in Texas. When I drove up the long dirt road toward my property, dust trailing behind my truck, I saw something that nearly stopped my heart. Houses, dozens of them. Tall, 2-story, identical houses stacked side by side like they'd been stamped out of a mold. On my land. My first reaction wasn't anger. It was disbelief. Pure, silent disbelief that burned like acid. I parked my truck and walked toward the nearest house. Workers were painting walls, installing windows, mowing lawns, and fitting mailboxes. They acted like they belonged there. A man in a green HOA vest approached me, clipboard in hand. "Yes, sir, this area is restricted to homeowners and approved personnel only. I'll have to ask you to leave." I stared at him. "Do you know whose land you're standing on?" He gave a rehearsed smile. "Yes. This area is owned by Willow Spring Housing Association, OC. If you have concerns, feel free to contact our office. Have a good day." And he walked away. That moment changed everything. My land had been stolen, not secretly, not quietly, but right in the open. They assumed I wouldn't fight. They assumed I didn't have power. They assumed wrong. I went straight to the county records office. After hours of digging through dusty files, I learned the truth. A forged deed, a fake purchase agreement, a signed to transfer of ownership document with a signature that looked nothing like mine. Willow Spring had bribed someone inside county offices to push everything through. It was all illegal. Every single house, every inch of concrete they poured. I hired a lawyer, a sharp old man named Harris, who loved 2 things: the law and revenge. But lawsuits take time, and time was exactly what the HOA needed to finish their construction. By the time our case reached the preliminary hearing, 35 houses were already built, sold, and occupied. Families moved in, children played on my land, and the HOA acted like I was the intruder. Harris leaned over to me and whispered, "We'll win, but it will take months, maybe a year. By then, they would have paved roads, built fences, installed streetlights, opened a community park, turning my land into something unrecognizable. I needed another solution, something faster, something undeniable." And that's when I remembered something my grandfather told me years ago while we were repairing the old stone wall behind the barn. "Son, always know the veins of your land. Every hill, every stream, and every bit of water that flows through it." On the backside of the property, hidden behind thickets and brush, stood something most people didn't know existed: an old dam. Built by my great-grandfather decades ago to control the seasonal floodwater. A dam with gates that could unleash thousands of gallons of water. And guess where all the water naturally flowed? Directly downhill, right where those 35 brand new HOA homes stood. The HOA stole my land, but they made one fatal mistake. They built in the path of nature. I didn't plan revenge that day, but revenge quietly started planning itself. And when the final court hearing came, I would be ready. Because the HOAs took my land illegally, but I was about to take back everything they built on. The silence after Karen's intrusion was thick enough to cut with a dull knife. She stood shaking, her fake authority crumbling like old plaster. Attorney General Hale motioned for her to sit down, but she hovered awkwardly by the door, unable to move. Karen Whitmore, Hale began, "You have violated state property laws and overstepped your legal authority as HOA president." Karen swallowed hard. "I thought this cabin was part of Lakeside community." "It isn't," I snapped. "It never was." Hale opened a folder from his briefcase and pulled out printed maps, survey reports, and boundary lines. Karen's eyes darted across them, horror growing with every second. For years, Hale continued, HOAs issued fines beyond your jurisdiction, intimidated property owners, threatened them with foreclosure, and even seized boats from the public lake. Did you think that would go unnoticed? Karen didn't answer. Instead, a tear slid down her cheek. Not from guilt, from fear of consequences. Hale asked, "Why did you come here today?" Karen hesitated. Because we needed funding. Shunning. Some people weren't paying. We needed more properties under our control to maintain operations. See. So you decided to illegally expand your HOA boundaries? Hale said. Karen trembled and nodded. I felt anger boiling. All this harassment, all these months of stress, because she wanted more power and money. Hale straightened. I'm filing an injunction today. Your HOA operations are suspended until further notice. Karen gasped. Suspended? You can't do that. I can, he replied sharply. And I am. Karen slumped into the nearest chair, defeated. That's when Hale surprised both of us. He turned to me. Would you be willing to provide a statement today? It will help close this case quickly. Absolutely, I said. We sat at the wooden table, and I recounted everything. The letters, the fake fines, Karen trespassing on my land, the threats taped to my door, the HOA patrolling outside my driveway. Hale wrote everything. Karen listened silently, occasionally flinching as truth peeled away her fragile role as Queen of the Lake. When the statement was done, Hale stood and delivered the final blow. Karen Whitmore, you are under investigation for misuse of authority, harassment, intimidation, and unlawful entry. You will receive official notice within the week. Karen whispered, please, don't ruin my life. You did that, Hale replied, when you misused your position to ruin others' lives. She covered her face in her hands and sobbed. Hale and I stepped outside onto the cabin deck to finish paperwork. The lake breeze carried the scent of pine and the soft sound of water lapping the shore, a peaceful contrast to the chaos inside. Thank you, I said quietly. Most people assume HOA complaints are small issues. You actually came out here. Hale smiled. Abuse of authority is never small. People deserve peace, especially on their own property. While we talked, law enforcement officers arrived. They escorted Karen out, gently but firmly. She didn't even look up. Her empire had collapsed. Within 2 months, the Lakeside HOA board was dissolved. Karen was permanently banned from any leadership role. Dozens of residents came forward with their own stories. The HOA finances were audited, multiple violations were confirmed, and best of all, property owners regained their freedom. One evening, as I sat on my cabin porch watching the sunset reflect on Swan Lake, I heard footsteps. It was Attorney General Hale. I thought I'd stop by and let you know, he said. A case closed. Justice served. I smiled. Thanks to you. He shook his head. Thanks to you for standing up. Karen's invasion that day had turned into the downfall of an entire corrupt system. The cabin, once a target, was now a symbol of justice. The lake was peaceful again, and so was my life. And that is how HOA Karen busted into my cabin and busted her own career at the same time.